next use case is all about empowering the non-technical users and equipping teams like marketing teams to spin up sites and content quickly, or supporting corporate roles like people and talent teams to create things like career pages or storytelling pages to support their efforts. It's one I'm personally excited about. It's all about the collaboration. It's all about connecting internal users together. So with that, I'll pass it over to Sherry and John to show us what it's all about.
Thanks so much, Kristen. I'm really excited about some of the new features in the latest version of Brightspot. These types of features are really, really going to help support workflows, something that I hear from our customers pretty regularly. One of the newest features that has gotten some excitement is the user widget. Now, for many of my editors I work with, they are always drafting content, and sometimes they don't want their counterparts to see their drafts. The new widget allows you a few different options. So as an editor, I can actually select it to where I can select it to be create only, which means that nobody else can see my content. So let's say, for example, I start creating my content and I save this. You will see, it will note that I only have access to this content. Even further, at times, I may be the only one to see it in my search interface. Once I'm ready to put my content through the workflow, I would maybe want to give my senior editor access to it. Beauty of this user widget is I can select the users who I want to be able to have access to this. And again, it will notify, once I've selected those and pass it through the workflow, it'll notify those users, say it's only visible to some users. This can continue as I'm going through the workflow transitions. And I can continue to add more users. Or I make it at one point that I'm ready to publish and it's approved, and I can just make it available to all users. Finally, once that's published, it's going to be available to anybody in the CMS. This is definitely a tool that I've heard from customers that is going to be of real value to them. So really, really excited about that. Now, during your workflow transition process, you're getting notifications. The notifications are one of the features, the new feature. Well, a feature that's existed is the CMS notifications, but there's also the ability now to be able to, one, preview content. So for example, again, as an editor that I'm going in and it's ready for my review, I'll get a notification. That notification then where I will be able to go in, click on the preview of the story. I can also transition to it. It looks great, or I need to send it back to the writer. So I would submit it back to the writer, pull it through the workflow, and then I may want to provide feedback. And guess what? I can do it all from one place. That would then tie back to the actual content that was submitted. This is, again, very, very beneficial because I don't actually have to go directly to the piece of content. I can do it from one spot. And again, I may have multiple pieces of content that I have to review, so I don't have to go back and search. I don't have to go find it on another widget. It's all right here. Something that we are hearing again from customers that this is a really exciting way to help improve their workflows. Now, as you may have seen previously, you've seen different tools that are tied into Brightspot to help manage those workflows. Some cases it's people outside who do not have access to Brightspot, and others who may have access to Brightspot workflows, but technically they manage, their approvals through a third-party platform such as Airtable. This allows, basically, as you were seeing with content going through reviews, it syncs with Airtable, also, showing the different transitions so that, again, as an editor or as a non-Brightspot user, I can see, okay, what's the status of these? Or also just having one place to where it's being able to track content that is going through the workflow processes. And again, tools that customers are regularly comfortable with, that they're able to use versus having to use having to use two separate tools, but having technically one tool to manage, but having them sync together between Brightspot and their third-party tool. So now we're going to kind of pass it on to John, who's going to talk a little bit more about scheduling through through our Google Calendar integration. John?
Thank you, Sherry. Awesome. Now that this is past executive approval, I'm going to go ahead and schedule this within Brightspot to publish later this week. So for those of you not familiar with Brightspot, we have a scheduling tool that allows you to pick the date and time. So I'm going to select the calendar icon here, pick the date that I want this to go live, let's say the 22nd at 4 p.m. And then once I set that, that will schedule to go live on that date and time. I'll be able to see that from my scheduled drafts widget within Brightspot. But more importantly, I'll be able to see this within the Google Calendar. Now that within this new version of Brightspot, we have the ability to sync with Google Calendar. So within the actual calendar, you'll see the content appear on the date and time that you have it scheduled. And you'll see that reflected on the Brightspot side as well when I go to navigate over to the calendars tab from inside the Brightspot dashboard. Here you can see that we have a bi-directional synced calendar where it's syncing everything from Brightspot onto Google Calendar and vice versa, Google Calendar onto Brightspot. We know from talking with our customers that teams are often working off of shared calendars for publishing. And with this new unified view, you can seamlessly consolidate Brightspot and Google Calendars, ensuring consistent scheduling across platforms with our dual sync functionality. This feature will make it easier for teams to see when their content is due and what events are upcoming. So where this is especially helpful, let's say not everybody on your team is within Brightspot. As another example of where Brightspot is meeting our customers where they are, let's say your social media team don't have access to Brightspot, and they need an easy way to see and be kept up to date with when content is going live. They'll be able to see anything that was published as draft or scheduled on their calendar. So this is a great way for teams to plan their work around those important dates that they have coming up, even when those other team members aren't within the Brightspot CMS.